Welcome along to episode 26 of the Endless Stream podcast. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Kevin and Cree, who is sitting in for Brian. We are three illustrators, artists, animators, filmmakers, and just all-round shit talkers. Each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Disney+, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Spotify. Wherever you get your content, we take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. This week we're talking about What If, and we're talking about Only Murders in the Building, we're talking about the games trailers of this week, we touch on Shang-Chi a little bit, but we try not to go into spoilers on that one. But generally, given the nature of these conversations, they are very spoiler heavy. We let you know in advance what we're going to watch, and we do talk about it completely. So if you haven't seen this week's episode of What If, maybe go off, give it a look, come back and join the conversation. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast or heading over to Instagram, where you will find @TheEndlessCast. We do illustrations and we put audio clips up there, and we've recently just finished running a competition where we were giving away an illustration to one of our listeners. That listener was Gear.Thrasher, and he was announced on last week's episode. He has requested an illustration of Spawn, which we are working on, and we'll put a video together of the drawing process soon. If you want to comment or email us, again, @TheEndlessCast on Instagram, we'll respond to messages over there, or theendlesscast@gmail.com. You can send us recommendations, you can respond to our thoughts with your thoughts, let us know what you think of the podcasts, let us know what you're watching, suggest stuff for us to watch as well. All of that being said, let's get into this week's episode of The Endless Stream. It's a load of trailers this week, folks. I sent a bunch of them into the chat. What If is the prime thing this week, really, in terms of like us setting ourselves an agenda.
Cree and I watched Shang-Chi.
Did Chris see Shang-Chi?
I didn't, no.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet? Oh, sorry, I thought you saw it.
Yeah, no, I really want to, but I don't want to go to the cinema just because, regulations and people, not getting vaccinated and stuff. I just kind of want to play it safe for now. So I'm going to wait until it's on Disney Plus. I think it comes on Disney Plus in October, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be Premier Access. So I'm happy to pay that, but I'm trying to avoid spoilers at all costs. So if you guys want to talk about it at any point, I'll just pop my headphones off and you guys can just give me a signal.
I think we can keep it vague enough. Because the thing is, I don't know if Kev, you did go and listen to the rest of the last week's episode after you bailed, but we talked about it end to end. I mean, broadly, did you enjoy it, Kevin?
Without overhyping it, immensely.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't really have a problem with stuff getting very CGI heavy at points. At the end of the day, life is mundane enough. Let's just, lean into kung fu madness and just enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? It's just okay, I prefer if it wasn't, but it's not a big, a deal breaker for me or something, But I would say, considering this is the first Marvel movie after the Endgame, based after Endgame, because I know we had Black Widow, but that was set, during Civil War.
Well, Far From Home technically was after Endgame as well, but
Oh yeah, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh yeah. But I guess so kind of this being the first new property since Endgame and stuff. I think I want to see more Shang-Chi. I want to see where he goes. Everything, brilliant. I heard some of my friends or people I know would be feeling a little bit jaded by it or apprehensive about the future of the MCU and blah blah. Even have to watch Shang-Chi. I'm not. It's after kind of make me more excited. So yeah.
Have you had anything spoiled for you, Cree?
I had. Let me think. Okay, so I know that Ben Kingsley is in it, and there's some sort of headless pet or something.
Because that video's up on YouTube.
No, I haven't seen any video footage of that, but
Okay.
I've been trying, and then I think does Wong face Abomination or something? Is that a thing that happens?
That's in the trailer.
That's kind of in the trailer.
Oh, it is in the trailer. Okay, grand. So that's fine. Because I'm trying to I can't remember what was in the trailer and what wasn't. I have to say, by the promotional material, this has the potential to be one of my favorite, if not my favorite MCU movie. So I'm really, really hyped for it, and I'm dying to see it.
Well, you're not dying to see it.
Hey.
If you were dying to see it, you'd risk COVID, and you'd be like, "It's worth it."
Okay, well, this is the point. I wouldn't risk it for anything.
Oh,
because
okay.
if I were going to risk it for anything, I would risk it for this. So
you
no.
could say you're living to see it.
Yeah, I'm living to see it. That's better.
Aidan, you can edit that out. So you just take it from the top. You're living to see it.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see Shang-Chi.
I'm sorry.
It seems absolutely amazing, and I saw the train scene or some of it anyways when they were like, you know, giving out promotional stuff, and it looks so kick-ass.
The fight choreography is really great in it, you know.
I love a good fight.
Like we said it a little bit on last week's episode, when, you know, for any listeners that missed last week's episode and want to go back, we do go into Shang-Chi completely in depth, but like it definitely feels like they had a big poster of Iron Fist on the wall saying "Don't do this" next to it, because they were just like, the fights are just so on point by comparison to anything in Iron Fist, you know.
So far, I think my favorite action scenes probably in the MCU probably come from Winter Soldier and Civil War. Would they be on par with that or better? Or
so what's your scene in Civil War that you're looking at?
Okay, so Civil War would be like the airport scene, and Winter Soldier would probably be the car scene.
Or the elevator scene.
And, you know, Bucky with the knife and stuff. That was fantastic.
Yeah, so when you think about Bucky and the knife, that hand-to-hand
combat,
those moments are comparable, like, or better, you know. It's, you know, really good kung fu movie fight scenes, you know, where it's just that beautiful, like, pop 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 rhythm of like bam bam bam.
Yeah,
bam, bam,
they're
bam,
my
bam,
favorite
bam,
kind
like,
of fight scenes, I think.
bouncing through and around the stuff. In terms of like the airport scene where you get into a big spectacle-y set piece, you know, I enjoyed it, but it's not my favorite by the time we get to whatever the set pieces are, you know. And let's leave that as vague as that is and move on, because we're in danger of digging too deep for somebody that hasn't.
I was just going to say, I wasn't aware that Ben Kingsley was in this at all.
Neither was I,
so
actually.
I wouldn't have been, but
yeah, that was a nice surprise, and I think it's just the MCU, the folks at Marvel just being really clever and stuff, and it's just like, I have friends that are big DC fans, and kind of, I think sometimes they say stuff like, "Oh, that wasn't really good," and it's just like, I think it's almost like they're pointing that out that it wasn't good because it was clever, you know, like. I don't know. So sometimes some DC fans they really begrudge Marvel for having these just like heartful movies that are just entertaining, fun, good and stuff. My only regret about it is that, like, watching, say, the Winter Soldier and their airport scene, it's amazing seeing all those superheroes come together and fighting and, like, you know, seeing them on screen and interacting is brilliant. I wish I read more Shang-Chi in the past, because I read a diverse range of comics and characters and stuff. There's no issue there as such. But I wish I read more Shang-Chi, because I think if you were a fan and then you were going to the cinema and you were going to see this movie, I think you'd be happy and you'd be impressed. And I think it'd be like more exciting, but it's awesome.
I heard somebody say, or saw, I don't know if it was a tweet, I'm going to butcher it as well, is that, like, when DC trusts an auteur, the film you get is amazing.
Yeah.
And Marvel won't hire an auteur that breaks their mold. Do you know what I mean? Marvel stick to the framework of the plan that they're making. Yeah. And you can do something visually, or you can do something a little narratively excessive, like a Taika Waititi doing Ragnarok, because he is the clearest example of a very what's the word? Identifiable filmmaker, you know, working within that framework. But, you know, that's not a Joker, and that's not a Dark Knight, and that's not a, you know what I mean? Like, so there is something to the idea that, like, Warner's will let, for the good and the bad, a filmmaker do their film, you know. In the case of Snyder, oh Jesus, they should not have.
Do you not think these Warner Brothers have been more guilty of being controlling and possessive, or interfering in DC projects, as opposed to Marvel kind of just collecting the right talent, kind of giving them the frameworks to do their thing and stuff?
I don't know. I don't think it's black and white. I don't think you can say either of them are, like, you know, powerhouses of morality necessarily, but
well, not morality, more just kind of like in producing just good movies.
But the thing is, they didn't trust Ayer to make his Suicide Squad, and they didn't trust Snyder to make his Justice League. But they trusted James Gunn to make his Suicide Squad, and it was great. They trusted Christopher Nolan to make his Batman franchise, and it was great. They trusted They trusted, is it James Wan?
James Wan, yeah, for Aquaman.
Aquaman, isn't it?
Aquaman?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you want to say, he made his Aquaman movie.
Yeah,
like it's, I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's too silly. And it's Patty Jenkins
Wonder
Woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shazam.
Shazam. They let the guy make, you know what I mean? Like, but like that's an easier sell, you know. It's not quite as he's not doing anything
Shazam's
too ludicrous. But like,
DC movie to a degree.
The
DCEU ones, I think, yeah. But even still, for me personally, I haven't actually watched a DCEU movie that totally worked for me. Like Shazam was probably the most enjoyable for me, but it was just, I think, I don't know, I had issues with the pacing. It just didn't feel quite right to me. I don't know if you felt that.
Yeah, the stuff with the villain was a bit weird to work into whatever else was going on. It felt like disjointed or something.
But it had great potential, and I really thought that Zachary Levi was like fantastic and really funny.
That ending was amazing. I didn't see it coming, and when it happened, I was just like, "Oh my god, it's such a sweet!" Like I was like, "That's amazing!" It tied into all the themes. It was like, I was like, "Yeah, this is such a sweet."
Moment.
I don't know how I would call it, mechanism for the ending to bring everybody together and to bring, you know, the kids together as a family, and it was there from the very beginning and we just didn't notice it, you know.
It's a good movie. Yeah, if people haven't watched it, Zachary Levi is in Chuck, and watch Chuck. It's great. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's silly espionage, kind of really, really pulls on the old heartstrings. Just a fun TV series, and my God, when there's a few TV series I would have watched just put it myself without other people or whatever, you know. And Chuck was one of them. And when it ended, it honestly felt like a breakup. It was just like, or someone that passed away. It was just like, oh, I'm never going to see these characters again doing their thing again. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of those shows as well, though, when it started airing, that it was like, this is a jock in nerd face, you know? It's like, here is a 6'5", 220-pound man going, I'm such a nerd.
Yeah. But you know what? He does well in it. He does well in it, to be fair. But do watch it. If you watch Firefly, what do you call him is in it? Oh, God, I can't think of his name.
Nathan Fillion?
No, Baldwin. He's a Baldwin, I think, is it?
Billy Bald? No.
He's Casey. He's the fellow who wears.
Yeah, he's not actually a Baldwin. His last name is Baldwin, but he's not actually one of them.
He's not Baldwin, no. But he's in. No. He's I think his name is Casey in the show. Oh, he's a handler. There's an FBI handler, a CIA handler, and they have to deal with this guy who has kind of sensitive information. I won't say anymore. Give it a shot. It's cheap. It's bad. It's like every episode has a cameo or like has a new femme fatale, and it's over the top stuff. But I don't know. It's just so much fun. It's so silly. I loved it.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
I watched a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Bryce Larson. It's such a good show. Yeah.
Bryce Larson?
He was his friend who was kind of always better than him in college and stuff, and was it's good to watch. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do a little rundown of the trailer stuff. So there was a PlayStation game event. I don't know enough to know what the fuck that was called. What was that called?
PlayStation.
PlayStation gaming games.
Yeah.
But my takeaways. Go on.
I was just going to say, just because we were mentioning the Spider-Man trailer, and Miles Morales. I seen it's like a screenshot that's being shared online and stuff, and Spider-Man and Spider-Man, Peter and Miles, and just the whatever way they've lit Miles Morales' suit, it borderline skimpy. It's black. And
it
shiny.
Looks a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really strange.
So you think he looks just a bit too much like a submissive?
I think.
Does Peter bring Big Dom energy?
No, Peter's definitely not Big Dom energy. I'm going to see if I can find it.
This conversation isn't going where I expected it to. I thought it looked really good. Like
if you saw two grown men walking down the street in rubber suits, what would you think?
Comic-Con is this way. That's what I think.
Just tying each other up with their webs.
Whatever floats your boat.
While you look for that picture then, the trailers that I looked at specifically, like there were loads of other games there, but like I'm a complete franchise whore for this sort of stuff. Like there's so many games that like I don't go near them just because I don't recognize the franchise. It's like it's a Batman game, it's a Star Wars game, it's a superhero game. Spider-Man 2 reveal trailer. So this is the first sequel to that Spider-Man game from the PS4 for the PS5 natively.
Yeah, I think it's only for the PS5.
Like they made the Miles Morales game as a release title for PS5, but it was really an add-on to the first Spider-Man game. God of War Ragnarok is there. The last God of War game was hugely popular.
I never played any of them because I still have yet to get a PS4. Hopefully I will be getting one of them soon, but that does look amazing. God of War and God of War Ragnarok. I love the kind of wild aspect.
Kev is showing us a picture of Miles Morales in the Spider-Man game, and he's just holding it up the screen, and he is expecting us to infer from the shininess that it is a bit gimpy.
I mean...
It's a cool suit, though.
Kev will be upgrading his gimp suit.
Yes. I mean, I would totally wear something like that at a Halloween party or thing if I wasn't a little bit pudgy. Well, it'd be cool. Spider-Man suit's cool.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Into the Spider-Verse has made it cool for chubbier guys to wear Spider-Man suits because of Fat Peter.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to do a Fat Peter or Fat Thor this Halloween, if I have a Halloween.
How would you beat it to Thor?
I mean, last year... Pardon? You did that before.
Yeah, I did Thor. Bro Thor.
Yeah.
It was very comfortable.
Bro Thor.
Best costume.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. But, or I could do it. But last year for Halloween, it was just me and my girlfriend because of obviously COVID and stuff. We didn't do anything, but we did actually dress up in costumes in the apartment ourselves and carve pumpkins in Halloween costumes, and then just took photographs of ourselves in the hallway with different lighting for the craft.
That's fun.
It was actually good fun.
Are you dressing up this year, guys?
Scary movies. Oh, I'd like to. I'm always up for it. I'll do anything. I dressed as Misty from Pokemon once.
Amazing.
There were pictures.
Yeah, you were there that night with us, Aidan.
I was there that night. I think was I the Viking that night?
Yes, you had a brilliant costume, yeah.
Or this was it the skull mask? I can't remember what it was.
Skull mask and Viking.
Viking definitely suits you.
You had the big...
Yeah.
Viking definitely suits you.
You don't think Misty suits me?
Oh yeah, it does. No, it does.
I got this like papercraft polygonal like half skull mask for a Halloween costume one year, and it was just me wearing like a black. It was a real low key costume because it was just like black shirt, black trousers, black hoodie, and it was a nice big hood. And then I just completely like put black makeup all over my face, and then that white mask.
You only work in black and sometimes very, very bright white.
Yeah, exactly. So the white mask, just like I would be walking down the street and then I would turn and people would just see a guy in a hoodie and then the head would turn, and like I got screams out of people because they just suddenly the white pop of the face scared the crap out of people.
Oh, that's fabulous, Kevin.
Kevin is showing us his Misty costume. He's got a togepi, so it's pretty complete.
Yeah. Nice
I got the
red
shoes with the
Converse.
Yeah, it was actually, and I painted the yellow stripe on him. I tried to make it as accurate as possible. Yeah, and the short shorts. I also wear a wedding dress one year.
Oh, that's cool.
That was very chesty. It was very corsety. Yeah.
You did resolve at one point to stop dressing as female characters for Halloween, didn't you? You did it a lot.
Yeah, I did it a lot for a couple of years. I kind of just cross-dressed, I guess. But I don't know.
I mean, clothes are clothes.
It wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't at all insecure with it. It's what I wanted to wear, so I wore.
Yeah, of course.
No, I mean? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think it was just you were deciding that it was time for a slight change of expectations because people started to expect you to like what dress is Kevin wearing this year? Was kind of
There was a couple of years where I did it, and then I was just like, people might actually just be either kind of would formulate an opinion. Which I probably wouldn't really care about, actually, to be fair. Well, I don't really care.
No, the opinion's not to... Yeah. You just always want to defy expectations, you know?
Yes, diversify, yeah. So, I've not done a superhero, I don't think. I don't think I've ever done a superhero for Halloween, and it's been my dream.
I mean, you could do Bro Thor.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very cheap, too.
I'm just talking in terms of, like, the simplicity with which you could put together a Thor costume
Yeah, all
these
you
days.
need is a green hoodie, like checked pajama trousers, and then a kind of like a red robe that's like short sleeved. I just got a red hoodie, and tied it around my neck, and it kind of worked. And then I had to use a fake beard.
I'll have to look into it, yeah. See, I have the beard and
exactly.
blonde hair. I would have done Spider-Man, except for I have the beard and blonde hair. It's not as good. I would have done like Spider-Man.
Maybe you could do like Aquaman or something.
Oh, God, a bro Aquaman. No one wants to see that.
Let's put you next to Jason Momoa.
That hurts.
Nobody ever wants to be put next to Jason Momoa. It's just like, keep that guy on the other side of the room.
I'd stand next to him.
I would too,
if he would let me
say.
talk, I might come across more charismatic. And even though he's very charming, I would stand next to him for also other reasons.
That's a mood.
Photographs. Not the sexual type, regular types of photographs. But yeah, anyways, that's cross-dressing.
There was a Spider-Man 2 video game. It looks cool. Like, they've kind of just... I don't know. Like, the thing with Spider-Man games is they've kind of worked out how to do them. Like, even on the GameCube, you know, it's just like, here is a representation of the entirety of New York, and here is swinging. And it is just fun to swing around a city. And they do better or worse jobs of that depending on which game you're playing. But like, I don't think there's been a Spider-Man game in a while where I haven't just enjoyed flying around the city, you know? I didn't play that last one on the PS4 that everybody said was astounding, which is really good. Like a drop in the ball on my part. I dropped the ball.
Pick it back up, man. Come on.
But well, I didn't have a PlayStation, and it was kind of exclusive, wasn't it? Like, can I get it on PC?
I have no idea.
Yeah. But it looks like Venom's going to be a playable character, which
I thought that was Craven's voice, and then as Venom shows up, it must be Craven talking, and then Venom shows up.
The Craven is going, is there one of you that can challenge me and give me the chase I want? And then Venom goes, we can. Mm-hmm. So I think it's Craven.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Will you be playing the new Spider-Man game, Kevin?
I don't have a PS5. I didn't get one for Christmas last year. So, I don't know. Santa wants to give me one this year? Maybe. But I actually have to finish the last one. I have to finish it.
You started playing that a few times though, didn't you?
Yes. I have commitment issues. Not to my lady. My lady is everything to me. But in terms of video games, yes.
Okay. The other trailer from Insomniac Games then, which was a surprise, was the Wolverine trailer.
Yeah. Wolverine. Does whatever.
Radioactive.
Anyone any thoughts on the Wolverine game? There's
yeah,
been a couple of attempts at it.
Has there?
Yeah.
Has there been Wolverine games? I can't remember.
I think Mark Hamill did the voice of Wolverine for one of them. And you could slip into like hunter mode and you would see the scent trails of people and follow them around and sneak up behind them and like
but kill the trailer doesn't show any game.
No gameplay, I don't think. Yeah. It's just a teaser kind of. I think.
The success and the fidelity that Insomniac Games have brought to Spider-Man is now being turned to Wolverine. And if you look at a Wolverine game, you don't need to have an entire city to swing around. You know, like when you make a game as expansive as Spider-Man, where you have to swing around the entire city the entire time, or you have to allow the player to go anywhere they want to, you absolutely have to start making concessions in terms of like, you know, can we open all of these doors? No, because I need to focus on getting the entire city built, you know? You pare back your scope a bit to allow for... You pare back the scope of interactiveness to allow for the expansiveness of the environment. Wolverine doesn't cover that much distance that quickly, so they can be a little more like... In theory, that can be... You know, they can put more attention to detail into the environments that he actually does occupy.
Like a little bit more like Red Dead or GTA in terms of he can kind of ground level and go into buildings.
I think that is the thought process. I'm not as familiar enough with the extent to which Red Dead is. Like, I haven't played the most recent Red Dead. But yeah, that's the thing. It's great to see a really big games company making AAA superhero games, because there's been a lot of like, you know, like almost mobile games where you're just like, you know, now play as this character and now play as that character, and even the Avengers game to an extent that they brought out is a little bit like, here's a downloadable add-on for this thing because a new movie's coming out. It's a little, I don't want to say cheap because it's probably spending a fortune, but it just doesn't feel like a nice, complete, holistic story for that character. Just more like a sandbox to fuck around in.
Yeah, the Avengers game was like, people weren't really fond of that, were they? Or I don't know, because I never played it, but
I think it was one of those ones that got released, and then as they started releasing patches and upgrades and stuff, it got better. I believe it's a pretty decent game if you play it now.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, but they started tying shit in with, you know, events and stuff. Like there's the stuff that people initially reacted to was like when you saw the trailer and you saw the like, this is what Captain America looks like, and this is what Thor looks like, and this is what Iron Man looks like, and it's like, oh god, it's like, because we have such an image in our head now of the MCU cast that it's just like, why are these guys slightly different? You know, even that Midnight Suns game that we saw the trailer for last week, it's like, or the week before. You know, when you let a game designer at costumes, you know, it's like, well, this is the Wolverine costume, but now I'm going to add intricate scroll work, and here's some nuts, and here's some bolts, and like, let's put a panel here, and everything gets a light, and it's like,
just like glue on feathers and googly eyes.
Why do you think they like? Because I often think about, like, you know, okay, so we're getting another Spider-Man game, which is fine. Spider-Man is probably Marvel's most popular superhero, and then you were getting a Wolverine game, which is fine. He's again, Marvel's probably most popular. X-Men, which is a big franchise. But then we were getting a game like Midnight Suns, right? And it's just like, I understand that they're putting like multiple characters that are popular into this thing and stuff, but it's like, would they not be better served if they did like a Daredevil game or a solo, I don't know, even Thor game would probably be, I would see you having more appeal than a Midnight Sun.
That would be terrific.
Is, you know,
was the pun there? I didn't quite hear the H, but horrific. I think if I get the actual recording, yeah. I mean, the God of War game is and that's going to bring us to the next topic. But like the God of War game is a great example of how you could do a Thor game, because like, as much as Thor is a superhero on Earth, you know, like there's books and books and books and books of stuff where they like adapted all like the saga stuff, where it's like, you know, getting into the actual Norse mythology, and he's like dealing with the I guess the problem, I'm thinking this through as I say it, the problem is that God of War game kind of touched so much of that.
So yeah, anyway, you can't really bring out something that's already been done. It's like, hey, can I copy your homework? Sure, just change it a little bit.
Well, what video game would you like to see then over a Midnight Suns game? Or are you content with Midnight Suns?
See, I'd love to see a Thor game, because that God of War game kind of just proves it can work. Like, he has an axe that he throws and returns to his hand.
Yeah.
And it's got a great sound effect, and it's got a great weight, and there's a little vibrate in the controller as it returns. So it's like, it's so satisfying to fling that axe and just go, hup, and then go, whoomp, and it comes back. It's great. Can I please have the hammer do that? You know, like, and Thor is like, if people saw the trailer for the third game we were going to talk about here off this event, the God of War Ragnarok game, they've introduced Thor into that now, and he is again Fat Thor, and people are annoyed that it's a Fat Thor. And then there are people that know anything about physicality that are like, if you look at the world's strongest men, they all have that kind of build, because they're not worried about being bodybuilding.
I honestly God saw that image of Thor, and like, I was just like, yeah, it's probably truer to what he was depicted in Norse mythology or something. Or I thought it was just like, yeah, okay, at least he's not like a Chris Hemsworth in God of War. You know what I mean? Like, I thought great. They did something different with it. He has red hair. He has the kind of the belly and stuff like that. Like the hammer. It's like, yeah, great, cool, something different, nice.
Yeah, because he's supposed to have red hair in mythology. So
is he? Okay.
Yeah, and then Marvel just was like, no, blonde. I think that's what happened, anyways.
Yeah. Wasn't Thor originally like a dentist that would be able to turn into Thor?
I just got a visual of him using Mjolnir to like extract people's teeth out of their mouth.
Wasn't Thor a dentist? So this is another opportunity to plug the Across the Bifrost podcast. They're doing Thor comics, or they're working their way through, and I did just listen to them talk about this, and I've talked about this before as well. Like I was aware of Captain America and Marvel comics to a degree, but like my biggest immersion in it was we found a whack of comic books in a skip outside a neighbour's house, and we just took them all.
Lucky.
And old black and white, like the British reprints, they're like a square format, black and white, and like my first exposure to that Thor character was like a reprint of the origin where Dr. Donald Blake is wandering through the woods and aliens are invading, but at the same time, in trying to hide from the aliens, he falls into a cave and finds a stick. And if he hits the stick off the ground, it turns into Mjolnir, and he turns into Thor with it. Whosoever holds this hammer, if they be where they shall possess the power of
That's
Thor.
cool.
So,
oh yeah, there you go. That's it. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, because wasn't it in the Hulk movie? There was a Hulk movie back in the day.
Kree just fire a snot rocket off to the...
Sorry, no, I didn't.
It was a real footballer move. She just ran away.
No, I didn't blow. I was
on
sniffing. I was trying not to get it
doing
picked up by the microphone, that's all.
It looked like you did the football, like the footballer. Off
Please
just
edit
leaned
this
off
out,
screen
oh my
and came
gosh.
back.
God, we're a gross bunch of people.
Oh
Last
god,
year
no,
was
I
wiping
didn't.
my
I
nose
swear
with
it wasn't a snot
towel.
rocket.
She just snot rocketed. You're in your living room.
No.
That's a carpeted
No,
floor.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I
you're
didn't.
indoors. Other people occupy that space. And you're
It's
just
my
snot
room
rocketing
actually,
around
but
the
even
house.
so, I didn't.
Oh god.
I swear on my life, I did not blow.
The only other alternative for what just happened is you just railed a line of coke off.
No.
Yeah, you just did something.
Okay, no, I
have
will
no idea
explain
what's going
myself.
on.
Okay, so I was sniffing, but it was going to be like a.
What?
No,
What were you
I
sniffing?
have hay fever.
Oh,
What
sorry.
were
No,
you
I have
sniffing?
hay fever, so I was sniffing,
You
but I
have
was trying
hay
to
fever.
not
Is that
get
what
it
the kids
picked
call
up
it
by the
nowadays?
microphone, so I was like, just so that you guys could keep
Just
talking.
did it again.
Oh, please edit this out. Oh God. I literally beg you.
This is a
Oh
clip.
God, no.
So
I was watching.
So Thor.
I was watching
Was it-
Patriot, and I keep telling people to watch Patriot. And there's a scene where Kurtwood Smith is like, he's a recovering addict, and by season 2 he's fallen off the wagon, and you just see him in a support group, sitting in a circle, listening to somebody talk about their drug use, and he's just sitting here like this. And then it goes, and now Leslie, do you want to say anything? And he goes, I'm Leslie Claret. The last time I did cocaine was when that guy was talking. I had it in the crook of my hand here, and I just sat like this so that it looked like I was listening, but really I was doing cocaine.
Oh,
and he just, like, somebody starts telling him off for that, and he just sits
Just for
back
the
like
for the
this
viewers,
again.
Aiden has his hand over his face. That's what he means.
Just the crook of your, by your thumb, just under the nose. And Patriot is an amazing show. Please watch Patriot.
And there was me
Hold
thinking of Mel Gibson. I was like, huh?
on. Mel Gibson was on cocaine. Kurtwood Smith was playing a character on cocaine. I don't know that about Mel Gibson. Was he ever cokey?
Brian would probably
have no
say
idea.
to cut that out. Cut that out.
The accusation that Mel Gibson was on cocaine?
Yeah. Okay. Let's pause and then
Okay.
get back to God of War before my sniffing tobacco. That's 1, 2, 3.
But there was a movie. I remember watching the Hulk movie in like from the 60s or the 70s I'd imagine, and Thor was in it, and it was a made-for-TV movie, and he was.
It was like 1989.
Yeah, I was born in '88.
Okay, go on.
So yeah, I just say it. It's only something that I don't know what I was listening to or I heard it somewhere recently, but I think it was probably when I was reading the Stanley autobiography thing. But it was just like it said something about Thor and the dentist. I was like, oh my god, yeah, he was or a doctor. I thought he was a dentist for some reason, but it was just like, oh my god, yeah, he was at some stage somebody who could transform into Thor, and they obviously have completely abandoned that in the comic books. I must look into that more.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of did and they kind of didn't. The mechanism that they had in place was like if he threw the hammer and it didn't get back to him inside of 60 seconds, he turned back into Donald Blake.
Ah.
So he had to be very careful with where the hammer went, you know?
Oh, wow,
so
okay.
if he threw the hammer and then somebody tackled him and got him away from the fucking thing, suddenly you're dealing with a doctor with a bad leg.
Ooh.
So he walked around with this cane, then he would smash on the ground. And when I say that they have and they haven't abandoned that, the Jane Foster stuff recently enough, she would do that. She would turn into Thor using something.
In mortal form or whatever, didn't she have cancer or something? But every time she turned into Thor, it was depleting her. Her treatment would go out the window and she'd be back at square one. So if she kept turning into Thor, she'd die eventually. Wasn't that something to do with her arc? Yeah,
I tell you what, I have to read, and that's going to be my assignment for this week. I have to read the Jane Foster arc on Marvel Unlimited, because I just saw that going on, but I wasn't buying comics at that point. So
can you send me a link to that Unlimited, please, Aidan? And I read it.
What? Just send you the link to the issue? Okay.
Yeah, because I find that app hard to navigate sometimes. So.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. You kind of so now we're talking about the Marvel. Sorry. So now we're talking about the Marvel Unlimited app on iPad, and it's a little janky, but you can search by a complete A to Z catalog of it, and you kind of have to have a sense of what year or whatever the arc you're looking for is.
How much is it?
Yeah. So in the case, it's about €60 for the year.
Sorry, continue. I just wanted to.
It's actually quite good. It's actually quite good.
Yeah, it has. If there's something you want on it, it's worth getting.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a little bit like what is it? The option paralysis type of thing. The minute you open it up, you've got so many things to look at that you just go, "That's great," and then you close it. But if you know what you're looking for, handy. It's absolutely great. I went looking for a Spider-Man book the other day.
There are many.
You see that little loady screen? Yeah, there you go. So that little loady screen is incredibly frustrating because you just think it should load much quicker than this.
Because it's just a JPEG.
Well, it's not. Whatever it is, it's.
But you know what I mean. It's not like a video or something that sometimes a YouTube video would load faster than these bloody things. Yeah. But it is a good app, and they have all the. I think they have a lot of the.
That's a great issue.
They have Matt Fraction's Hawkeye on it. People are interested in that.
Yeah. So the thing of it is, it's I think it's probably 6 months behind the shops.
Huh.
But if you haven't been buying comics in 6 months and you just they put new issues up every week, then it's great. It's great.
Yeah. And also if you haven't got access to a comic book store or something, the likes of Marvel Unlimited and Comixology are brilliant apps because they certainly kind of reignited my passion for it during lockdown. But yeah, it's a good app. And actually, speaking of the app, they have released new comics on it, specifically tailored towards the app, done by a collection of Marvel artists. They're all issue ones. There's Shang-Chi there. There's a... Oh, okay, cool. That's the Jane Foster one. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read that for sure.
Helmet.
But so they have it's a badass design. But basically, they have these new apps or these new comics on it where it's I think webcomics have done this before, but you're scrolling down as opposed to clicking for the page to turn over. You know what I mean? You're just on this continuous. You're on this continuous scroll. Declan Shabby, the Irish artist, he's done a Wolverine story. I was looking at the Shang-Chi one. It's a little bit head melty, to be honest, because I'm not used to scrolling down to.
It's the format, is it?
Yeah, it's a format. So basically, it's instead of say tapping to get to the next panel or next page, you're actually just scrolling down, and it's like toilet roll. It's just one big. That you read.
But it lets them do stuff like
that is a great idea.
There's a banner that's the Shang-Chi event, so they're Shang-Chi's coming out, so click on that, and you've got a whole selection of best of issues for that character. Really, so you can get a sense of who you're dealing with. And we're kind of off topic. I think we've lost sight of any particular topic, but that's cool.
Now I'm just thinking how much I want toilet roll that has comics printed on it.
You can get it.
You can.
But read them before, not after.
Thank you for that. That would not have occurred to me.
Yeah. It's a messy affair, let me tell you. So what else has been in the PS5 convention?
There was Guardians of the Galaxy, wasn't there?
Oh yeah.
There was some more footage of that. I'm not into that game, or at least I'm not interested in that game.
You don't want more of it, no?
Oh. Mm.
I've been kicked off the call. I'll see you later.
No Gamora that.
The less of it. No more.
Nebula, let's move on.
Oh, Star Lordy.
Let's get to the Groot of the problem. Okay, I'm sorry.
Rocket Raccoon.
So there was a trailer for moving on. Deadly Cuts, which is an Irish movie.
Yes.
Cree, tell us about this.
Yeah, well, I saw the trailer. If I can't remember the plot points, I'm sorry. But basically, there's these hairdressers, and I think they're entering like a hairdressing competition. But everyone else is, like proper posh, like really cool, like high-end hair salons, and these come from like a really small one in like some I can't remember where it is, but it looks really, really funny. But I think there's like, is there murder or something? Like I can't remember exactly, but it looks really, really funny. So everybody should go watch it when it comes out. Or go look at the trailer. It's called Deadly Cuts.
Is it going to be in the cinema?
Yeah, I think it should be coming out in the cinema. I don't see why it wouldn't be. So it's called Deadly Cuts.
So the name of the salon is...
the salon is called Deadly Cuts.
The name of the salon is called Deadly Cuts, which is, for our international listeners, deadly is a bit of a inner city Irish, or just Irish in general, kind of.
Irish in general, cool.
Something's cool, something's good, it's deadly. Deadly Cuts.
I just say,
so you've got great haircuts, it's basically.
I'm from the country, and we just say deadly. That's deadly. I used to say it.
That's deadly.
I don't really say it anymore. And it's funny because a tattoo artist I know in Canada, his shop is called Deadly Tattoos, and when he came here, it was very funny. It's like, so you work in Deadly Tattoos? Yeah, that's deadly.
That's deadly. There was somebody in the gym the other day, and I was like, they were working with like a personal trainer, and like everything afterwards, she was like, "Oh, that was fucking savage," that was savage. That was a savage. I was like, I haven't heard somebody say savage that much in a, like, it's such a weird, I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. I just
I hear.
You don't hear savage much, do you?
I was gonna say you might hear savage a bit more. The one that you don't hear as much anymore, I think, is that's class.
I say that's class. It's fun. I love it.
Okay, hold on. Let me just give you the actual description for Deadly Cuts, because
I probably scuppered it up.
A black comedy set in working class Dublin hair salon where the stylists become accidental vigilantes and community heroes as they take on the gang members and gentrifiers threatening their community. So I don't know if is there a hairdressing competition comes into it?
At the end of the trailer, when they were like at this they were like kind of being portrayed as like the underdogs in this or a banquet thing kind of. So I just presumed it was a competition. I think it was, but I think they were like, yeah, there's no way that Deadly Cuts are going to win to these people. So I think that's a feature in it. I could be wrong, but it looks like a masterpiece. It looks really funny. I have to say, Irish people were good at the comedy movies and shows and things.
We're a funny bunch.
I won't get into it, but I have huge issues with Irish representation in cinema and TV. Huge issues with it.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to get into that on a thing where we talk about stuff.
No, I won't get into it. No, because people might be offended.
Do you have issues with the way the world represents Irish people, or the way that Irish people represent Irish people? Like both, I often look at Irish-made films and go, why are we leaning so hard into the paddywhackery?
It's how we sell ourselves, though. I mean,
why does
like America, like they probably come here and think we're all a bunch of drunks living in thatched cottages or something, but it's because that's what we sell to people. It's like our theme, sort of, like light it up green for Paddy's Day. We're nearly like a, I don't know, like some sort of icon thing, and then
like this is the controversial statement of the podcast, is that like every time somebody goes, that's a shitty Irish accent in a movie, I'm pretty sure I could find the person in this country with that.
Okay, I will
accent.
put forward to you though, probably the worst Irish accent that I know of. And okay, don't get me wrong, David Boreanaz is a good actor. I really like him as Angel, but his Irish accent, I'm very sorry, it's just possibly the worst that I've heard. But he's very good. He is a very good actor. I do want to put that out there, but I just think he could have maybe done the accent better. That's all.
Anytime someone wants to shoot, anytime like they do like a film or TV series and it's Ireland or Dublin, it's always to do with like the gangs and stuff, and it's just like whatever. Who cares?
Evidently not Kev.
No, they always make it look so old and stuff. I don't like it. And like then like if you have like a scene where it's like lads in Dublin, and then they go out to the countryside, and it's just like Dublin looks like the 70s and 80s or something. They go out to the countryside, and it's a bunch of fucking like rednecks that are just like, you know, stuck in the 30s and 40s, and it's cringy. Like it's so bad. Like lads that like, you know, it's kind of like they're naive fucking like kind of like it's like animals that just think everybody like with no predators, and they think everybody's like friendly and happy, and it's dumb shit, you know.
So what is Irish content that's a bit more
palatable?
Yeah, a bit more somewhere in the middle. Like, so I mean, I'm half googling it here because it's a while since I've seen it. I'm trying to get the name of the movie correctly, but there's a movie called Animals.
Oh, Animals, yeah.
There's a movie called Animals, directed by Sophie Hayden, I think based on a book of the same name, and it's you know, it's two women living in Dublin, just relationshipy, going on nights out, and you know, just being young and in their 20s and having to deal with actually moving on to doing something with their lives.
Wasn't is that the Netflix TV series? They did a Netflix show on it.
No,
and there was a Netflix show depicting two women. I don't know if they were both Irish, obviously living in Dublin. I don't know if they were from Dublin, but one of them passed away.
No.
It was Barry McQuiggan's daughter. You know the Irish boxer, is it Barry McQuiggan?
Yeah, Nika something or other, isn't it?
She passed away. She was like only 29 or 30 or something like that. Very sad. But also a lot like, don't get me wrong, there's great pieces of Irish cinema. Like The Butcher Boy is fantastic. War of the Buttons is fantastic.
War of the Buttons is great. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say my issue with the depiction of Irish in cinema and TV, and it's not like a kind of a necessarily negative one, but it's just like they lean heavy into crime, which I think is kind of just a little bit like overly done. Depictions of Ireland, even when depicted by the Irish, it's always it kind of alludes to like we're 20 years, 30 years even in the past, like 70s, 80s. The contrast between city life and country life, it's a little bit ignorant how it's depicted, you know. And I think whereas we're guilty of that, as you know, as an Irish people are just as guilty of depicting ourselves like that, more so. Like I said, there is good examples of Irish cinema. Butcher Boy's brilliant. Angela Zatch's War of the Buttons is probably what was a personal favorite of mine growing up. There is some great movies, and you know, that aren't as guilty of it. But I just think a lot of it leans into cinematic tropes that are just unnecessary or untrue, and I think that's my issue with it.
I'll also throw into the mix Into the West is also worth a watch. I think that's a great film.
Yes, yeah.
Tato.
Yeah, like it's just so true though. But like there is lovely versions of it. I just think like for a country that does have a lot of heart, a country that does have a lot of talent and creativity,
we should take advantage of it more.
Yeah, we just lean into some of just such redundant tropes that are unnecessary, you know. And
I think we're getting better.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think we're getting better. I think that there is a thing where, gotta remember that the Irish film industry, as a producer of content, is 30 odd years old of actually like really making stuff. Now that's, you know, there's older people that will be, you know, feel that's a not entirely a great representation, but like there's definitely this air or this feeling that when you go and pitch something to Screen Ireland or to RTE or to the BAI, that like you want to have an Irish angle on it to get their attention, and so there's an element of people leaning into Irishness in order to get a bit of attention. And like, I'm guilty as all hell with that for the animation shorts I pitched, where I was just like, I'm throwing every bloody Irish thing I can at this to make
I don't have an issue with that, because like kind of like that we have a language, like a certain kind of like a cultural identity, and I don't have an issue with that. It's because I love folklore and I love Irish history, and I have no issue with stuff. I have no issue with stuff being set in the 60s, 70s, 50s,
totally
further, whatever. But it's just when I'm watching something that's set nowadays, and it's just like, Jesus, like my grandparents have a newer car than that, or like, whatever. It's just a bit silly.
That's fair.
I'm just trying to think of what, like, so what do you want then? Like, what do we, like, okay, Mrs. Brown's Boys is trying to do the like inner city Dublin thing as sitcom.
Father Ted with the country thing sitcom.
Yeah. Love Hate did the sort of gangland thing, but I didn't watch much of Love Hate. Did that run the gamut? Did that get into like general social living?
But these are all movies that are guilty of leaning into like those problematic tropes to a degree. Even like Father Ted, like, kind of wouldn't have been a realistic depiction of somebody living in Ireland at that time. Generally, in a general sense.
I liked Pure Mule.
Generally.
I thought that was, I know it was set in the country, but I thought it was fairly good depiction of like kind of normal people, But
this is it though. Raw wasn't too bad. I remember watching season 1 of Raw or something. But and Pure Mule, I do remember watching that. It was decent. Just like what I expect from Irish cinema or something. It's just like nothing. I don't expect anything. Just
okay. Here's one for you. Here's one for you. Didn't watch it. I'm assuming Cree did. Normal People.
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it. Yeah.
I know.
I was just like at events where everyone was like, "Normal People's amazing, isn't it?" I was just like, "Yeah, it's doing great."
I watched some of it.
But that's supposed to be just like
normal people that
slice of life. Like, here's a Sligo school that goes to college, and it's just relationships in Ireland without crime or country stereotype or naturalist cinema.
It's a funny one. Yeah, I didn't like it. Didn't
appeal to you? No.
No, and I don't know people who read the book and watched the series, and like a lot of people who read the books and liked the series and was just like, what was that? Didn't like it. That appealed to a certain demographic.
Yeah, I thought Young Offenders was really funny.
Young Offenders is funny. Yeah.
But it did again lean into
stereotypes, but it's watchable.
Yeah. Well, that's like even like but that's my point. Like, kind of, it's just like there's more. I think kind of like the kind of just like just like kind of stuff that's just it's repetitive and it's a little bit kind of redundant, and I'd like just truer representations.
Did anyone see Extraordinary?
Yes,
I thought that was good.
Yeah.
Kind of got weird at the end. It's a little bit, but I like the start of it.
No, it's good. Like
Grabbers. Well, that leaned into the drinking thing. They couldn't. The aliens couldn't see if you were drunk or something. Isn't that it? Or the monster couldn't.
Something like that. Yeah.
Did you see Grabbers?
Like,
not me. No, I didn't.
But I was gonna say some of it, like some stuff is funny. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, kind of like humor is humor and all that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about like just like kind of like there is tongue.
Oh no, I totally get you. Fine, yeah. No, I and then there's the issue of like not even using Irish actors. Do you know, like even when it's an Irish production, it's like, do you know, there's that issue. I'm like, we're here.
Yeah, we'll see. There was a good movie. I can't remember what it's called. I just remembered, for an Irish one, I think it was called Dead Bodies. But basically, a fella accidentally gets in a fight with his girlfriend. His girlfriend accidentally dies by no fault of his own, and he comes back and he finds her body dead, and he panics. And I think your man who plays not Moriarty, Moriarty in Sherlock Holmes, is it? And I think the guy who played Moriarty in the TV show with Benedict Cumberbatch, I think he's in a movie. I think it's called Dead Bodies, where basically, like I said, his girlfriend dies after an argument. She hits her head or something. He leaves. She falls and hits her head. He comes back. The body, she's dead, and he goes to bury the body up in the Wicklow Mountains. And when he's burying the body, I think he when he's digging the hole, he accidentally digs up another body.
Oh. Gee.
And it's just all the stuff that comes out of that. And that was actually kind of a decent movie. Yeah.
Jesus.
So Deadly Cuts is coming out.
Yeah. It looks really good.
We'll check it out. When you described it to me, it reminded me of a movie from 2001 called Blow Dry, which had Alan Rickman and Josh Hartnett about competitive hairdressing.
Oh, I'll look it up.
Very silly comedy movie. Bill Nighy, Heidi Klum, Alan Rickman,
it's a good cast.
Rachel Lee Cook. There's I don't know. I think it's terrible, but I really enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? I think it's that sort of just like it was going for the kind of like full Monty vibe.
Okay.
I guess sort of like working class England, you know, but like a little bit of the like Billy Elliot, like the locals don't take hairdressing seriously. And got a bit of the like Strictly Ballroom vibe.
Oh, okay, I get
So there's like the hairdressing competition is this big thing to these cast of weirdos, you know. And there's like the host of the hairdressing competition starts off real nervous and ends up like a flamboyant showman, like, welcome to the finals. Like he starts off with like, well, thank you for all coming to the hall this evening, and then by the end of it he's like wearing a sequins jacket and like playing to the lights, and it's one of these things that I think is terrible, but I also watched it twice in a day because I enjoyed it. I was like, this falls into my popcorn on in the background. I will watch this forever kind of thing, because just Alan Rickman's great, and Josh Hartnett is squinty.
That's kind of like the Star Wars holiday special. You kind of watch it and you're like, I mean, I'm glad I watched it, but like, what the hell? Do you know, like, I'm glad, like, I needed to know what was contained within this thing.
I think this is a little better than, like, like,
oh no, I'm not saying it's the
like
same.
Star Wars
I'm
specials
not,
or
like,
whatever, but
shitting on it, or sorry.
Yeah, I 100% think this movie Blow Dry is just going to be completely forgotten about. But if you have a copy of it, or I think it's on Netflix, silly bit of fun for 90 minutes. So let's talk about What If then.
Yes.
Did we all watch What If?
Yes.
Okay. Cree, we haven't spoken to you in a few weeks. How are you enjoying What If?
I am
Captain Carter.
really enjoying it.
What were the episodes?
So we've got What If Captain Carter was the one who got the super serum. Then my favorite one, which is T'Challa as Star-Lord. And then I may get the continuity mixed up here, but then I think it was the one, What If the Earth lost its mightiest heroes, where Hank Pym was the villain.
Fury's big week.
Yeah, and then there is the Doctor Strange one, What If he lost his heart instead of his hands, and then zombies. I think that's all of them.
Yeah, I think that is.
I'm really enjoying it. I am really enjoying the chance to get away from, you know, the kind of storyline of the MCU. I think it's really fun to explore what else could happen. I think my favorite episodes are the ones that go all out, you know, completely different, you know, like T'Challa as Star-Lord. I absolutely, they took their chance to have fun with it and they ran with it, and, you know, they made Nebula blonde, and, you know, why not? Thanos is good because T'Challa talked him out of killing half the universe.
It's almost a what if in and of itself. It's like, what if Nebula had hair?
Yeah, exactly. I absolutely loved that episode, and it was also amazing to hear Chadwick Boseman again. That was really nice, and it was a really nice tribute. And so yeah, my favorite ones are that one and like the zombie one, which is like completely different again. You know, they're having fun with it. Yeah, it's my second favorite. You know, they're having fun with it. Like, you know, the Doctor Strange one.
What if is at its best when it goes, you know, absolutely batshit.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Like, even in the comics,
yeah.
You know, it's like do something drastically different. Otherwise, you're just retelling an existing story.
Yeah, because like with the Avengers one, what if the Earth lost its mightiest heroes? I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was still kind of a little bit similar or something. I don't know. It wasn't like drastically different enough. It wasn't like a completely different character in a completely different situation to what they're normally in.
I really liked that episode.
I really liked it as well. I actually really like all of the episodes, but the ones that I prefer like the most, that I really enjoyed, are the ones that go batshit crazy.
I think they kind of like, there's a little bit of a missed trick in that Lost Its Mightiest Heroes thing, where the thing that they don't quite hit heavy enough on the head is the position. So, like, it's doing what it's doing, but the biggest change to that universe is the Thor narrative. Because Odin sent Thor to Earth to learn a lesson and hopefully come back to him. And now this distressed old man on the brink of retirement, who was ready to hand over his kingdom to his son, has now, by his own actions, sent his son to be killed. He's no doubt distraught and enraged and completely susceptible to Loki's manipulations that allow Loki to become a colonizing force and take Earth. You know, they don't
lean
quite
into that enough.
Yeah, like by the end of it, he is sort of saying we're staying and we're taking over, but they don't quite lean into the menace that really does.
What I was hoping was that would lead to the President Loki variant from Loki. I thought that would have been really awesome.
That would be funny. If he just wanders into the White House in the last shot and just kicks his feet up.
I thought that would have been... And then Captain Marvel showed up and I was like, all right, okay, so yeah, that's going to work itself out there. But I thought that would have been a brilliant tie-in. Because this all is stuff that could happen in canon because of what Sylvia's done. Like, literally anything can happen now, so...
Yeah, I think that's I'd forgotten about it until you said it, but that's the little bit of a cop-out towards hope on that one, where it's just like, embrace the Twilight Zone-ness of this and just go, look at the grim world that's been left.
Yeah.
You know, like...
If there was no Thor, if there was no Avengers, Loki would have won.
Yeah, if you show me Captain Marvel showing up at the end, I'm like, okay. As you said there, it's like, well, that's just going to work itself.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas with the zombie one, that was like, you could actually expand on this. Not that they have much of a chance, but you could do something.
So, what did you think of the zombie episode, Kevin? Which is episode 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have
you loved
Captain Carter, Star-Lord, Avengers not being alive,
Strange, and
zombies. Yeah. No, I loved it. Yeah, really, really good fun. I've seen some criticism of the episode, but I think when Hulk lands and he's like, Thanos is coming, and then he's just like, wait, what? No, like there's no one there. And then he sees like the guys and like when it looks like Iron Man's saving him, and then he's like, oh, gross, guys, that's too much, that's too far. Yeah, I thought it was good fun, you know. And it was nice to see the Wasp
take center stage a little bit.
Exactly, like being so badass and stuff, and Happy going blah 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 blah.
Happy and his blam blams. That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, blah blah. Yeah.
that rig of Jon Favreau was pretty forgiving, wasn't it?
Oh, it's animation. It's a what if Happy was happy.
In Peter's thing, he said not actually, like, never actually happy.
I suppose in post-apocalyptic, he doesn't have the same access to Stark level food.
Yes.
I'm just fat shaming the guy at this point.
I thought it was super enjoyable. Because they can totally lean into that horror element, which they maybe aren't able to do in the MCU. They can just do it. They have leave to do it because it's just animation. So you can have Bucky like slicing Captain America in half with his own shield and saying, sorry buddy, looks like this is the end of the line. I was like, no, oh my god, they were brutal. That was brutal.
The moment when Okoye cut Sam in half and says, I'm sorry if that was your friend, and he goes, I think I should feel something, but I don't, and he got up and walked away.
That was or like when Hope's like, oh my god, I'm covered in Sharon. Like, what?
And even Scott Lang being resurrected as a head, he's like,
that.
oh, I wish the old man would chew me up again. And like, oh, like, you know, don't put it, or all the jokes he was making and stuff.
I think everyone can agree that that Doctor Strange's cape was actually the MVP of that episode. That freaking cape did all the heavy lifting.
Yeah. But seeing the Wasp was awesome.
Yeah.
The Wasp going big.
That was really
And then
cool.
like succumbing to Yeah.
What
really fun episode.
What I don't understand is what she should have done. If it was me, I would have sacrificing myself, whatever. Then I would have made myself small and disabled that controller so that I couldn't get big again, because that's a pretty big threat you're going to be, because you're going to become a zombie. So at least do that so that you're not like a giant that can just step over the line to the facility. Like, that's what I think.
The moment where she like threw a body or threw a zombie up after the quad
I know, that was very funny.
Where it's just this thing just goes, and just body hits the plane. It's like there was some nice timing and stuff in it.
Can we also appreciate that Kurt was there?
Fun.
Who was
Kurt,
there?
Baba Yaga guy. Like he was in it. Yeah. Like what?
The minute he mentioned Baba Yaga, we're like, well, Scarlet Witch is coming.
I absolutely love that. Yes,
they had him. Yeah.
That whole
he was good. And then the Vision kind of atoning for his sins and stuff. Yeah. Pretty good stuff.
I'm like, seriously, you're killing Vision again. This is like the new Loki. What are you doing?
He pulled his own bloody head. Can we also just go, he cut off T'Challa's leg and fed it to Wanda?
Yeah, what? That's a new level of dark. I didn't know Vision
had pretty
it
grim
in him. What is up with that?
I liked the idea that the disease or the zombie virus came from the quantum realm through Janet Van Dyne. I loved the sort of like the Avengers arriving to do their thing, and then just like tiny zombie Ant-Man bites Cap.
Yeah.
Like, this show has done a great job of showing you just how dangerous a tiny superhero
that must have been
could
Hank,
be. Like,
that must have been Hank Pym that bit Ant-Man then, or bit Captain America.
Bit Cap.
Yeah.
It's funny how he's been used in the what if.
Yeah.
You know, he's rather problematic, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
He's very effectively dangerous, you know.
Like, it kind of shows that the one that we have in the MCU is quite like, we're lucky that he stayed in his lane, you know.
Well, I actually think that it's like, I don't know. So sometimes we reach, as Marvel fans, we reach way too far in trying to work out or trying to like assign foreshadowing or setting stuff up for the future films. But I do think there's an element of, you know, with Cap gone and with Tony gone and with whatever, there's a little bit of setting up just how dangerous Hank Pym could possibly be here, how smart he is, and how dangerous and how effective and how much damage he could do to the world of the MCU.
Especially when something happens.
And there's a little bit of laying that groundwork.
That's the danger.
Yeah,
and that would also ring true to his character in the comics. Like Hank Pym is essentially his own worst enemy, you know. And he is capable of horrific things. Like I think it's Avengers. He does hit the Wasp, you know, in a domestic abuse scenario, you know.
Were you aware of that, Cree?
No, I didn't actually know that.
See, that's why it is my understanding that is why they chose to go with Scott Lang rather than Hank Pym, is because if you follow Hank Pym's arc I think in the 70s it happens, right. You know, like it might be in the 70s comics that he, you know, I'm not sure if they try and put a sort of super villainous like mental damage thing on him, that like he's being controlled or he's going off the deep end because of something or other, but there's a domestic abuse arc in there that he was just beating his wife, and they've been forever, ever since they did that, they have been trying to redeem Hank, and they've never quite been able to do it because they wrote that story, and now it's the same thing that, like, ever since they said Tony Stark was an alcoholic, everybody wants to look at the substance abuse issues around Tony Stark. It's like, you've given him this flaw, and like, I mean, I think there's an arc in Mark Miller's, or there's an issue in Mark Miller's Ultimates, because Mark Miller will lean into the worst of anything. Yes. I don't know if you've read much Mark Miller stuff. We discussed him before, that like he leans into just violence and abuse stuff really quickly in comics, but like they get to the Hank abusing the Wasp story in Ultimates, and they, again, that arc is very much about, it's very sort of, I'm trying to describe it, but it like he just leans into stuff, like he gets this concept of like Steve Rogers is a guy from the 40s who's not afraid to punch people, you know, and he's a soldier who killed people rather than the comic book superhero. That's what the Ultimates did. It was like, he's a soldier, he had a gun, he's killed hundreds of people. This is who Steve Rogers is. That's the little bit of the grimness that the Ultimates did to it. So when he finds out that Hank Pym hit Janet, he just goes and finds Hank Pym and beats the shit out of him. And you know, it is kind of satisfying in that book to see that happen, but like, it's just Miller likes to lean into the
dark,
the dark stuff.
I read a lot of the Avengers in the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff, and that Perez stuff, Yellow Jacket featured in it and different things like that. Like, I loved Hank Pym. I thought Hank Pym was the coolest. I thought he was awesome. I thought Yellow Jacket was such an interesting design. I loved the character. I didn't know any of that kind of history of abuse stuff, you know. And then obviously growing up and then reading more into it and like looking at these characters, like, oh, it was devastating, you know. But like, even his depiction in like cartoons and different things, like, he was, I think, kind of like, in a way, they kind of just wrote him as a bit of an asshole. You know, a bit of a curmudgeon or a bit of a fucking disagreeable prick. You know, it's like they kind of, it's like they didn't kind of wanted to completely redeem him. You know what I mean? Like, he did what he did, and they didn't really kind of want to completely redeem him. But yeah, he did evolve into like not a very likable character, anyways. But I used to think Yellow Jacket and Giant Man and all those things were great. I used to think Ant-Man was great, you know.
But they did associate the Yellow Jacket in the same way that the black suit Spidey was, like, you know, the black suit drove him violent and aggressive. They said that the Yellow Jacket suit, I can't remember the trigger in it, but like when he's in the Yellow Jacket was when Hank Pym went off the deep end.
It was when he was a vigilante, like a more of a foreboding,
aggressive,
vigilante type.
Yeah.
Anyways, zombies, pretty cool.
Ultimates has a scene in it as well where I say scene, I guess it's very cinematically drawn. Betty Ross is out on a date with Freddie Prinze Jr. and Ed and Bruce finds out and he turns into the Hulk and he storms Manhattan to try and kill Freddie Prinze Jr. because he not man enough for you. You want Hulk.
I'm pretty sure David Finch, the artist, was drawing Ultimate X-Men. I don't know if that was Miller as well.
That was Brian Hitch.
No. Actually, maybe it was Miller, because I think it was the Ultimates. I don't think it was Ultimate X-Men. Not too sure. But basically, David Finch says it was one of the darkest and kind of grotesque things he ever had to draw was the Blob eating the Wasp.
Oh. Lovely.
I'm thinking, like, the Ultimates as a comic book arc was such a departure in terms of the tone from Marvel Comics. It got a bit like grim, and it gets held up as the thing that sort of set the precedent that these things could work in film. But that's not to do with the story that was written by Mark Miller. Brian Hitch is the artist, and his art is the stuff that made you go, oh yeah, I suppose Cap's costume could be, you know, like that helmet and the goggles and the boots, and it looks very like realistic, real world. This is what this version of it would be. So it's like Brian Hitch really set the template rather than sort of attributing it to Miller.
Yeah, fair.
So I don't know. How are we feeling?
What's next on What If?
I don't know what's next.
What is
I know
next?
there's going to be Hulkbuster on Sakaar, because of a Lego set. They're
Hulkbuster on Sakaar.
My friend was showing me his Lego set where he bought, and it was Hulkbuster is going to be on Sakaar with like a Valkyrie and stuff, so that will be interesting. So like Tony Stark is going to be there. There's going to be Gamora, and it looks like she's got like Thanos armor, so
I've seen there's an image of Thor flown around as well. It's like in his, like, you know, full Thor outfit. So it's like, rather than like what we saw in the Lost of the Avengers.
But I kind of don't want to.
We haven't seen the Killmonger episode yet.
Be surprised, you know.
We haven't seen the Killmonger episode yet either.
No.
Is that where he's good or something?
Yeah, he like rescues Tony.
Ah, okay, cool. That sounds really good. Yeah, like I absolutely love What If so far. And I think the theme music is great as well. Actually, it's really underrated. I think it's my favorite opening of any like of the kind of Marvel sort of shows or anything, because it just like the goosebumps happen so quickly, and it's like so magical. Like you're about to enter this world that's going to be like amazing and beyond your imagination, and the Watcher talking over the it's a great opening.
Yeah, it's very kind of Twilight Zone. Kind of, I love that.
It's worth, like, Brian has had this sort of I don't know if it's his theory or his insistence or, you know, based on what he's reading, but, you know, like, he's pretty convinced that this cartoon is going to tie into the MCU in a significant way.
I hope so.
Like the live action stuff.
I think that would be cool, actually.
And
I won't say this when I wouldn't say if Brian was here, and I know Brian doesn't listen to the podcast, but he's wrong. He's a disillusioned drunk with notions 90% of the time. Don't listen to him.
I wouldn't want like all of them to tie in, but maybe like a little cameo-esque thing, like if President Loki was the Loki from the episode 3 timeline or something, you know, like that kind of thing I'd be okay with, but maybe not like completely tying in, you know. I don't know.
Would you like
Me? Did I like the Captain Carter episode? Yeah, I really did.
Would you like Captain Carter in live action?
You know what, I wouldn't say no. I know people might be like, oh, that's overkill, she already got the episode and she's already got her own TV series, but I'm like, you know what, I would actually watch the heck out of it. It would be really cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe that was amazing, and Agent Carter's great, and like, let's get it.
The thing with her is, with Captain Carter, I actually think she would have been a really good choice apart from Steve, because Steve, I mean, he's great, he's pure of heart and all that stuff, but she's been in the army longer, so she will have more of an idea of like strategy and, you know, how to actually use her strength, because she's already using her, you know, she knows how to like, you know, fight and stuff already. So I think
this was the 40s where American army thought that a disabled.
Oh, I know, she would never have. Yeah, it was only through her own doing that. But
better than a fully able
I think
woman.
the episode did a great job of showing that she was very capable, like from the get go. I mean, Steve had to kind of learn how to be Captain America, but she was like ready right there and then because she already had all the training and stuff. And I thought it was good that they showed that.
As we're talking here, it occurred to me, like, I've mentioned this a few times, the idea that, like, you know, the next Endgame event where we have a massive battle and a portal opens and we bring out Captain America and we bring out Tony Stark, and it's like, you know, we need backup from the original guys, and
Luke Skywalker.
Time travel is such a thing now. Well, like I think it's not the last we've seen of Chris Evans's Cap and Tony Stark's Iron Man. I think it's a great thing to pull out of a magic portal in the sky when you get to your Endgame event in 10 years' time. But as we're talking here, I just went, you could pull T'Challa Star-Lord, except Chadwick's dead. But you could pull Captain Carter out, and you could pull and Killmonger as a hero, and like the you know,
good Thanos.
Maybe it's like 10 years. Good Thanos. Can you imagine in 10 years' time when we're facing off against Kang the Conqueror, and the Watcher is there and just goes, I've brought help, and he opens all of the multiverse, and out comes everybody we've seen in.
That would be freaking amazing.
I don't want a good Thanos. I don't want like a Star-Lord. Chadwick Boseman Star-Lord would be awesome.
Oh, it would be. I'm just thinking, because we can't have him, we could have Thanos at least.
No, like, he would be awesome.
He
maybe
did.
You could get like, but maybe you could get maybe the other guy. He's really underused in the Marvel universe. He was Star-Lord's best friend in the episode. He was in Blood Diamond. I can't think of his name.
Jimon Hunsu.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Korat the
Bring him back. Bring Captain Carter back. Bring, you know, whatever. I'm just saying, like, kind of like, you could take little bits from it where there are nods to it, you know. But if they don't, say if this show had taken place before Endgame, they would have been able to do it and would have been great.
Yeah.
Well, like, we saw, one of the things I think is funny is, like, there was an announcement, and we shared it in our group chat. There was a Hot Toys announcement of a Spider-Man figure wearing Doctor Strange's cape called Zombie Killer Spider-Man, and we were looking at that going, like, the description of it as well kind of made it feel like it was something we were going to see in the No Way Home film, or maybe the Multiverse of Madness, but we just saw it in What If. That's where it came from. And there's a moment there where she goes, "Oh, that's the cape suits you," and it's like, does this world go on to train Spider-Man as a wizard? Like that be?
I think they could continue with this.
You get Wizard Spider-Man.
Yeah, I want them to continue. Like, I don't want it to just be kind of left. I kind of want to pick up with the odd episode. You know, like see what happens to Captain Carter in 70 years later. How does she adapt to the modern world, and how does T'Challa adapt to being in Wakanda after so many years? Or I mean, I know they can't really do that much now since Chadwick has passed, and they'd have to get a new voice actor, which I don't know how I'd feel about. So I'd be actually happy if that episode was left, but like other things like the zombie stuff, that should totally be expanded upon. I think it would be really fun.
Again, my hypothetical Endgame sequel or Endgame scenario: Paul Rudd's head on a robot suit.
That was fantastic.
But like if he comes through in like a Hydra Stomper thing, with just like the head attached to a giant suit of armor,
so amazing.
Or even just the head and the cloak.
Yeah, that was brilliant when he was like Wingardium Leviosa.
It's very good stuff. That What If was excellent.
Yeah, fab.
I think it's worth noting as well that we have seen the Watcher as this silhouette in the background, and then at the end of the Doctor Strange episode, he spoke directly to Stephen. And this time when we saw him floating in the sky, it's the first time we've seen a character rig with facial animation. So we're seeing more and more of the Watcher as this series progresses. Of a player
in it, which is great.
Like now that they've given him a physical rig that we've seen, and he can interact with the world a bit more, rather than just being this silhouette in the distance. So I'm curious to see how he involves himself in the next 4 episodes.
Definitely. Oh, I'm so hype about it. It's so good. It's I thought it was just going to be a thing to tide you over until the next live action series, but it's standing up. It's really, really great. Yeah,
super enjoyable. But I was going to say, I was watching a video the other day and they were talking about Charlie Cox and Daredevil.
Yeah,
and he it looks like he's like 100% like going to be in the MCU, like without a doubt. There's talk that he's in, like, say, I think She-Hulk or something, but there's proper talk that he's actually like Daredevil will be back.
There was a lot of
MCU.
Speculation that he was in the Spider-Man trailer for No Way Home. But I don't know.
I think that's a fun, like we even did a bit of that as well. Like there's a guy in there with a white shirt,
like,
and people
oh my
like,
God.
Charlie Cox has a white shirt. It's like, yeah, but he's like, the previous shot, you see the guy in the white shirt, and then you see a close up of a guy in a white shirt from the like neck down. It's like, why are you assuming that's not the guy that we just saw in the same scene in this last shot?
But apparently, if you watch that in IMAX theaters or something like that, that guy in the white shirt, you actually just see his face, and it's not Charlie Cox.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm saying. You see the shot of him in the office, and then you see the interrogation room, and the guy with the white shirt is there. And it's like, why are we assuming that white shirt is not that white shirt? Like, I want Charlie Cox to be in it. I think it's great. And mentioning the She-Hulk series, which is a courtroom drama thing,
that would be the great place for
perfect sense.
To be. It would make sense.
Because I think Vincent D'Onofrio has said something about coming back to it as well.
Yeah.
So Fisk and Daredevil potentially are going to. It looks like they're 100% coming back, but maybe in a Disney Plus sense.
Is there anything in those Netflix shows that disrupts MCU canon in any way? I thought it was fairly respectful of it.
Maybe not with the Netflix ones.
Like, there's no reason to not roll them in.
Well, I know Runaways has that book that, I know but it was still in the MCU, and it was an MCU show, and I know it wasn't a Netflix one, but that had the book that Wanda was, and that kind of disrupts canon because it was supposed to be like a lost book or something, but then Nico Minoru was kind of using it and stuff, but because that's set in the same universe, I think it was supposed to be anyways. Maybe I don't know if there's anything in the Netflix shows that kind of retcons anything though.
I think a sensible executive or a sensible development person is going, look, we have all of these shows here, we're not going to tie ourselves to them, but let's see what's useful. Yeah, I mean, those shows weren't made those shows were made with the intent that they tied in. They mentioned the Battle of New York. They mentioned whatever else. Like, they mentioned like ground level crime has become less of a priority since people started coming from outer space. Like, they do deal with this sort of stuff. So I don't see that there's any reason why Daredevil wouldn't show up, other than just like there's a degree of brutality in those shows that you don't see in.
Well, they're bringing Deadpool in, so
the MCU.
That just
there's no clearer evidence that they're bringing Deadpool in than the fact that they released that promo with him and Korg. You know, like, technically he's already crossed into the MCU if he's having a chat with Korg.
Moon Knight's coming, so that's going to be obviously darker Blade, darker again. So, you know, it's happening. Yeah, it's going to be multifaceted. Yeah,
and like Ghost Rider as well. I'm just looking at that Midnight Suns one sets up, you know, Reyes is Ghost Rider. It's a shame. It's a shame for me as a Johnny Blaze 90s Ghost Rider fan that like they really do love this guy in the car now, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. He's cool. He's Ghost Rider. Like, we're on our third or fourth Ghost Rider anyway. I do love that fucking guy on the motorcycle look.
Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like it. It's better. I don't mind the new guy with the car and stuff. It's cool, but and I guess a modern interpretation of it is it's fair, but it's cool. But I don't like his skull.
That's the one that gets me.
Just give me a normal skull.
Yeah, I don't know if Cree is familiar with the variety of skulls at work.
I'm just thinking, like, I know what you're talking about, but just like with the wrong context, it'd be like, you know, just walking up to someone on the street and just being like, "Yo, I don't like your skull."
I don't like your skull.
Yeah. It is weird. They've drawn it like an armor plated, like he's got a metal head on him. I'm like, this is a weird,
very
choice.
Anime inspired or something.
I listened to a podcast, like talking on a podcast about another podcast about a guy who had a conversation with someone else. Like, it's 7 degrees of separation or something at this point. But he did say he was like at a Marvel like production house or something, and they were talking about how much they liked this new Ghost Rider, and they were like, yeah, we just said, you know, enough of this goddamn motorcycle. And it's like, okay, that's.
But aesthetically, it's
like,
so cool.
The way it was being relayed was just like, well, I guess you just don't like Ghost Rider, that like, because it's not.
It's like, you know, Iron Man.
Same thing, but
you
like,
know, he has his suits, but what if you like gave him a unicycle or something?
What if you made it a buddy cop thing between him and a kid for 80% of your movie?
I mean, yeah.
I like Iron Man 3, but
Trevor Slattery,
you know, that was the complaint.
So I'm glad he's back.
He is very funny. He is quite the scene stealer. So I think we've what ifed.
Oh, can I also say Okoye saying that they don't need horror movies in Wakanda, they have American reality shows, was just like so badass. She just destroyed it.
It's pretty bang on. So the most perfect of segues that won't necessarily involve Cree. Kevin, you watched a couple of episodes of Daisy of Love, did you?
Oh, did I watch a couple of it? Jeez, we put on like the first episode and we've made progress, guys. I know it looks like the world can be as a culture. We made progress as people inhabiting the planet, you know, as beings in a section of the universe. Daisy of Love
for Cree is a 2009 VH1 reality show about the second runner-up on a previous reality show about finding love with a rock star. She got her own spin-off show where a bunch of VH1 reality monsters try and win her heart. And it's on Amazon Prime. It is theatre. It's ludicrous. It's... Anyway, I'm only bringing it up briefly because you mentioned American reality shows, and Kevin watched the first episode, I think. Did you enjoy it?
I watched some of them. No, it's awful. When that whole thing where she just gives everybody nicknames, and like one guy is just like, I'm gonna call you like Choo Choo or something. He's just like, I'm not crazy about that name. That's Spanish for boobies. And it's just like she just rebrands everybody. It's awful.
That like, I keep bringing this up because I think people should watch it because it's so bad. But like, you know that they scripted an event. We're gonna get this moment where like you meet all the guys and you can give them like a nickname, and you know that she's not creative enough to come up with decent nicknames, and it's like an awful rec room talent show thing, and they just walk one of them up at a time, and it goes, "What do you do for a living?" He goes, "I drive trucks." "Okay, I'll call you Big Rig." And it's like, and so now his name is gone.
Should be Mother Trucker.
They just refer to him as Big Rig for the rest of the series, and like every time they pull up a title card, Chi-Chi.
Chi-Chi, that was it. Weasel.
That's unfortunate.
Weasel, yeah. Weasel just looks like Will Ferrell.
Then why not say like Anchorman or Cowbell?
That would have been too creative.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of any more of the names. You know, like one guy goes, "Hey, I'm here to win your heart," and he does a backflip. And he goes, "I'll call you Flipper." It is. Yeah, you should watch more of it, Kevin. Anyway.
No. And then we started watching Beauty and the Geek because we started talking about Beauty and the Geek, and that's all on Amazon. So yeah.
Keep going with Daisy. I want to check in on you.
I don't know, man.
I suppose we should talk about the Matrix Resurrections. There's a trailer for that this week. That's a big deal. Like, it's 22 years since the Matrix came out.
That sounds about right.
So, I'm going to say, like, I know Brian's very excited. I know the Matrix means a lot to Brian. I know a lot of people are probably very excited for it. But in my opinion, there's only really one good Matrix movie. The other two I didn't really like, and Animatrix was awesome. I like the idea, I like the visuals, I like the universe, I like all that kind of stuff. As action pieces, cool. The trailers for these movies look great. But those last two movies, I really, really didn't really like. And the fact that they're doing another one, it's like, yeah, fun, cool. I hope it has more of the first one's energy, which it looks like it does. It looks like they're kind of just retelling the first story.
I don't know how I feel about that though, because I kind of would value originality, but I'm sure there's like some revelation in there.
Oh, there's nothing original anymore.
Yeah.
So, how familiar are you with the Matrix movies, Chris?
I like them. Yeah, I'll watch
them. You like
them?
Okay.
I think that's insulting that you're even assuming that she hasn't watched them, Aiden.
I'm not assuming that she hasn't watched them. We've
call me
spoken.
Creo.
We know she watched them. I just don't know how familiar. Oh, good lord!
I saw it in the cinema.
Good lord.
The Matrix. Yeah, no, I didn't.
You saw the
time
Matrix
travel.
in the cinema?
It was on for its anniversary, so I went to the cinema.
Okay, all right.
It was great in the cinema.
I was going to say, I was like,
because you were born in 2001. Wait, did I guess that right?
The second one hadn't even come out at that stage. The second one came out in 2003, 2004.
But yeah, I like them, and I think the trailer looked. I'm definitely interested, and I would love to go to the cinema to see it. I'm not gonna have like really high expectations just in case. I
think that's the thing of it, and I think that might be why it's a hit, because people had huge expectations of those sequels.
So they've learned their lesson, kind of.
And were disappointed.
They were so convoluted.
And I heard people saying, that it doesn't really feel like the Matrix because it doesn't have the green tint anymore. But then you kind of realize, but at the end of the third movie, the green tint was gone, and that was kind of similar. That was kind of the point. So actually, continuity-wise, it makes sense. So I actually don't mind that much. But it is. I do get why people would miss it, because it is fair. Kind of quintessentially the Matrix is the green tint. And Keanu Reeves, I think, I mean, it's silly to assume that Neo would have the same hairstyle, but he does kind of just look like John Wick was plucked and put into this. Like, I don't know, but I'm sure it's still great. Like.
So I was talking to somebody. I talk to people, guys. And we were talking about this Matrix stuff.
Me and Brian.
And he talked about the color grading in the Matrix movies as being, part of the considered look of it, so that if you're in the Matrix, green, which is all about the mind, you get this green tint. When you're in the real world, which is much more visceral and physical, it's the the blue tint, which is sort of representative of the body. And if whenever they sort of talk about the sort of spirit stuff of it, like when he gets sort of supernaturally and he has a glow to himself and there's a glitch in the Matrix end of things, it gets this sort of yellow. So these,
very intentional.
By the end of those 3 films, when the Matrix resets itself, because you remember there's the shot of the cat and the little girl lying on the ground, and then there's this little like whoop, 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 and it kind of resets, the color grade changes, and the 3 colors of green, yellow, and blue kind of like become present in the one place. So that the version of the Matrix we're seeing now is a more sort of consistent integration of these 3 concepts. But I don't know if that's just bullshit or if that was the thought process of the directors and the cinematographers.
No, I think it's very intentional. Yeah, it's very intentional for the continuity of the universe. Like they know what they're doing. So yeah, but I do get why people would want it to have the green tint just for pure nostalgia. I understand, but it does make sense that it doesn't have it anymore.
I watching the trailer, I think what people wanted off the back of the first Matrix movie was kind of like Keanu Reeves Superman, him flying around and shooting shit and having big kung fu fights, and what they got was a little more sort of like a lot of like the Wachowskis' philosophical talking points, the stuff that they like talking about, just thrown at you, with a bit of fighting in it. And I'm watching this going, is this them attempting
I think
to
it's
deliver
just Lana on her own, isn't it, this time?
The action stuff that we thought we wanted? Yeah. Is it like, because the Wachowskis, I doubt, are hurting for money, and they've produced stuff since The Matrix, but I don't think they've ever hit the same sort of heights.
No, their movies have been awful since The Matrix.
Wow.
For example, Speed Racer.
Speed Racer is amazing. Yeah, you damn tree.
I have to leave.
They're heavily involved in V for Vendetta. Did they have Ninja Assassin? Was that them? And
to be really honest, I think the only work of theirs that I'm familiar with are the Matrix movies. But
Jupiter Ascending wasn't awful.
Oh, I remember that.
I didn't get through it. The chances of me not getting through a movie are very fucking slim. I did not get through Jupiter Ascending.
Me neither, actually.
Everybody says, the cinemas just, or movies are just now remakes or based on comics or blah blah. But then when somebody comes out with something original, people cry about it. Jupiter Ascending, it's not great by any means. Like, I'm not going to say it's like the best movie or the best movie that year, or even in the top 20 movies that year or anything. But if you're just kind of like want to hear, or
it's
want to see
escapism.
Something different, yeah, it's fine. It's good escapism, whatever. You know, it's not gonna be the best movie in the world. It's not gonna rock you, but it's cool.
Yeah, I think people like this whole thing of like shaming other people if they like a movie or something. It's kind of like, you know what, someone else's escapism doesn't have to be the same as yours. Sometimes that's all movies are, is just like, they don't have to have this like deep poignancy to them. They can just be like something for you to watch for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just like, you know, grab some popcorn, have some fun.
Yes, but if you like Speed Racer, you know, you're wrong.
I haven't seen Cloud Atlas.
Oh, yeah.
How's that?
I know of it, but I haven't seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
See, okay. That might be a to-do for next week. Watch Cloud Atlas. Because it's, you know, it's a big sci-fi time-hopping epic. I've watched...
Also, another thing with the trailer, I was missing Lawrence Fishburne. I know not everybody can come back, and like, you know, realistically, you're like, okay, yeah, I can sort of understand, but it kind of, I missed him.
Yeah, and that fella has confirmed that he is playing Morpheus. The younger,
and
the younger
they're
guy.
kind of big shoes to fill. Not that I'm saying the guy can't do it. I'm sure he's great. It's just, I'll have to see, because like people are so used to Morpheus, it's as Lawrence Fishburne, so it'll be interesting to see what they do.
But the thing is that I'm trying to remember those end of those Matrix movies, but Neo at least is physically dead. His consciousness is brought into the Matrix. Trinity's dead. The arc of that world is a looping process of finding the one, resetting the Matrix, until Neo breaks that cycle. So they're all clones anyway, and we don't know how long they're telling us Neo has been in the Matrix at this point, you know. So like it could be 100 years later and we're on our 5th Morpheus clone since, you know, before this one breaks his way in to get him.
The guy who's playing Morpheus though in this is a great actor. He's a cool actor. He's in cool stuff.
Do you know what else he's in?
He was in Candyman. I just watched Candyman. He was Black Manta, I believe, in Aquaman. Okay. He was in...
that character was like underused.
Yeah, he had more to give for sure.
I really thought so. You know? I really thought so. I thought he was cool, yeah. Yeah, so like, you know, he's
I'm sure
cool.
he's going to be great.
He's really cool. I can't really pronounce his name. It's like yeah, Abdul Mateen II, I think. Something. I can't really pronounce his name, I'm going to be honest. I can't, which is bad, but he's cool. He is cool, and he was awesome in Candyman, the new one. Takes a little bit of a weird turn at one point in the movie, very close to the end, but it's a direct sequel to the first one, which I didn't know going in, but kind of in hindsight, yeah, it's fine. As in, like, it's if I knew it was a direct sequel to the first Candyman going into seeing it, I would have felt it was a little bit of a less of a weird turn, but yeah.
Okay, so we've wandered slightly into a sort of review of the new Candyman movie. You saw it, did you?
I did, yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, like I liked it. Like, but the thing is, I really liked it because he's really good in it.
Okay.
That's high praise for
him. And like, that's it. Like a charismatic performance can carry you through. When it isn't,
like, you know, then an actor has kind of crossed the threshold of being really good to being like amazing. Is if they can carry a movie that otherwise would be mediocre or even not great. Like, so that's really high praise.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, he's great and stuff. Anyways, but and I did feel like he was underused in Aquaman because like he's cool looking. He's a cool looking guy. He's a good looking guy. He pulls off the Black Manta stuff well, you know. But and Black Manta is such an interesting character visually as well, you know. He's such a funny kind of costume, but it's great looking.
Hey, it was weird that they made that character work, but then also just kind of did nothing with him. He was just this sort of side arc thing. Like they gave him an agenda enough that he could have been really sort of like a threat, but then it was like, let's move on.
Yeah, they should have just taken the ocean mask thing out of it and had this guy the main villain or something, you know.
Had they done that, for sure.
Because the danger is now that he is... I can't remember how he ended up in that Aquaman movie, but the danger is now that he's going to be floating around in the next Aquaman movie, and he's still never going to really get given a sort of due. And then he's just going to become this sort of like character floating around like the rest of them because they're all underwater. Sorry.
Phantom Manta.
Is there anything else we want to touch on as we approach 2 hours here? I've watched the first 3 episodes of Only Murders in the Building, which is Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, with like the rake of like guest appearances that you would expect from that cast of things. Like Tina Fey pops up in the first episode, and Sting shows up at one point, and like I think there's a lot of like SNL.
I will probably enjoy it.
Lorne Michaels kind of like.
I watched the first 15 minutes of it. I thought it looked awesome. And Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez are all like kind of producers, executive producers, and so on the show. So it's kind of I think it's so impressive. Like kind of say Martin Short to Steve Martin being as like kind of. I guarantee those guys probably weren't producers on shows at the same age as Selena was. You know,
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Selena's probably got, like... I mean, what year did she start doing Disney stuff? She's one of those, like, been at it since she was
Wizards
a child
of
type
Waverly
of thing.
Place,
you know?
Well, I was just saying, like, kind of credit due to her because it's fucking awesome. And she is actually great and stuff. I've seen her in a few bits and pieces now. She's in a movie with Paul Rudd and she's brilliant in it.
Yeah, it looks really good. Like, what a cast. I'm surprised I haven't seen it already. I should really have a look.
It's funny that it just sort of like popped up out of nowhere, I think, really, and then it was on Disney Plus. So there's 3 episodes there on Disney Plus to watch. I think it's funny that like Martin and Short have in the last few years built this sort of working partnership. Like, they've worked together forever, and like The Three Amigos is one of my favorite films. But they've really had this sort of like late career revival, because like Martin Short went through a lot of health problems, and I think his wife passed away as well. And like he disappeared for, you know, he just went and lived his life for a while. I think Steve Martin kind of retired to banjo music and was just touring with that band that he has, and like that was great as well, and he'd do little guest spots. But the two of them kind of like seem to have found each other again and started performing, and they did that show.
Yeah,
that's
they've been
on
touring
Netflix.
around and stuff. Like, they came to Ireland.
It's nice that they kind of got this sort of working partnership together, and like he's 76 or something, Steve Martin, like they're pushing 80, you know. It's fun to see them working together. The title is a little bit of a stumbling block for me. Like, it's just, this is a stupid little thing, but when I try and tell people I'm watching Only Murders in the Building, you're like, what does that mean? You know,
that might be one of the reasons
fair.
I haven't seen it yet, because I'm kind of like, that's a kind of I don't know what to make of that title.
So the three of them are into true crime podcasts, and they bond over being into this true crime podcast, and then somebody gets killed in their massive New York apartment complex, and Martin Short is the producer. He's an old Broadway producer who's down on his luck, and he's trying to, you know, we can do our own true crime podcast and that'll lift us all out. And it's like, maybe we should get a second arc going as well, because somebody got killed in Central Park over here last night, and we could really start looking into that. To which Steve Martin replies, no, Only Murders in the Building.
Okay, gotcha.
Which, you know, but like, it's just a title that you go, what the fuck does that mean? And then you have to get to the context. Yeah, it's just a little clunky. Once you see it in context, or once you get the context, you're like, that's grand, that's great, that makes sense.
So far it sounds like a building that's only just full of murders and nothing else.
Yeah, it's a little just odd. It's funny. I'm enjoying
definitely
it.
going to check it out. It sounds really cool.
So check it out. Yeah, 3 episodes on there. Selena Gomez does seem to be selling Apple products on the show. Like, she's drawing on her iPad a lot, and she's holding it up to the camera, and there's a lot of like nice little shots of going to the menus and saving things, and then she switches to her MacBook Pro, and it's like, this is a lot of Apple placement.
And her Beats.
Oh, she's got pizza.
Yes, at one point, and Martin Short talks about how he liked his, but he lost them. He left them on the subway.
Yeah.
Once you start noticing product placement, like, I don't know if you remember the show Bones. There are a number of episodes of that over a period of seasons where, like, somebody does, like, they change a setting and they go, what did you do? And he goes, oh, I just turned on the electric seats in this amazing Honda. Like, it's just like,
nobody talks like that in real life.
Why are we
on the nose? Yeah.
Why are we talking about the new car?
Currently, I'm sitting in an IKEA chair.
Yeah, Bones is the one I always go to for this sort of stuff, because there's literally an episode where they stop what they're doing in the office and watch the trailer for Avatar and talk about what a groundbreaking sci-fi film it's going to be, and then they go and queue up weeks in advance for tickets.
Just, and it has nothing to do with the narrative.
There's a B plot where the nerds in the place are queuing to get tickets for Avatar.
Wow. Mac and Me was pretty much just shot at McDonald's.
Yep, they were just piling on the ET thing.
Mac and Me.
Community did the best product placement, because they just leaned into it. Like, they did exactly what every other show was doing, but they just hit it harder. And like Subway, at one point they go, don't ever mention that sandwich corporation without remuneration, you know, unless we're getting paid, we're not going to say the name of it.
Brilliant.
Only Murders in the Building. I'm just happy seeing Steve Martin on television and Martin Short.
Such an amazing duo. Yes.
Yeah.
Boolabus.
Good work, guys. Long career. I saw Chevy Chase is on TikTok.
What?
Anyway, moving on.
That was curveball.
I saw one TikTok from him, and it was just him looking at his phone going, tell me you're a Chevy Chase fan, without telling me you're a Chevy Chase fan. I was like, I didn't even try and click the link to see if anybody had taken that like sound up and done anything with it. It's like, oh, Chevy. That's a guy is just, it's just, I don't know how he's done it, but he has squandered all the goodwill he ever had, and like, he's still out there, and he's still a kind of televisual or cinematic sort of icon to a degree, but I
used to love him, but yeah, it's so disappointing.
I'm curious to see if he'll pop up in Only Murders in the Building, because, you know, he's the third amigo, but
I think Selena Gomez is the third amigo now in that scenario.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
That you're right. Like if Chevy wasn't such a controversial figure, there's no reason why this wouldn't be, these three old farts listening to a murder podcast, but I'm sure trying to solve crimes, except that they can't work with them.
Adds a kind of an unexpected element to it. I think maybe you need that young energy with,
and draws,
like in Up or something. You have Russell and then Carl. You kind of need that dynamic, maybe.
Yeah,
it's a good dynamic.
Yeah. It is. I mean, that's kind of the gist of my list. I think we're sort of rounding out the episode for the day. You did mention, Cree, that you're watching Friends for the first time. When did you start doing that?
Yeah, well, no, okay, not for the first time. I mean, whenever it's been on the TV, I've been like, oh yeah, it's Friends. So I'm familiar with it, obviously. But I decided to sit down and watch it, chronologically, watch all of the episodes. I mean, it's all up on Netflix, so why not? So I'd seen a lot of the episodes before, but well, no, some of them, like most of season 1 I would have seen. I used to have a VHS of like the first few episodes that I used to watch. So like there was an episode with Marcel or something, I would watch them. But now I'm on season 5 and it's like coming home or something. It's like you're literally friends with these people, and it's definitely a comfort show. So I think that's why I'm really enjoying just like watching it.
Are you getting anything out of anything out of watching it in sequential order that you think you missed just seeing the odd episode here or there? Or
well, I mean, not necessarily. What's great about Friends is that you can watch an episode and it can be anywhere in any of the seasons and you will still enjoy it, but it is good to Rachel's here now, okay, right, she's working here, that makes sense now, or you have a bit of like insight into what the story is and what the characters are going through, I suppose. But that's what I love about Friends, is you can watch it in any order really and still enjoy the heck out of it because it's just so good. So but yeah, I'm really enjoying watching it all together. I think it feels like something I need to do before I call myself like an actual Friends fan or anything. I'm like, so far I can't call myself that because I haven't seen every episode in chronological order. So
you'll get there.
I will. I'm halfway through already, so it's.
When I was at the dentist the other day, I was in the waiting room and they were playing Friends on the TV. It was really weird because as I was getting my tooth extracted, I could just hear the canned laughter off the TV or whatever, the laughing off the TV in the waiting room. But a woman was talking to Chandler and she said, "Oh yeah, like I can set you up in this." Blind date or something. I know this guy is really cute, and Chandler was horrified that the woman thought he was gay, and I was watching it going like, and it's just one of those things where I was watching it going like, what, like, what's this problem? And then I was like, oh right, yes, back then
it hasn't aged
that
perfectly.
Would have been no, sure, look, but nothing has, and that's fine. You can still kind of like say
within the context. I mean, you can. You have to be
realistic.
Slide,
you have to be realistic. Yeah.
I mean, there is an episode where Ross is trying to make sure that Ben doesn't play with a Barbie doll, and it's kind of like, that's really not a big deal, but Ross is pretty anal about it. But it's kind of like, okay, this is the 90s,
Yeah. But it's also when you watch Ross doing that, it's like everybody's meant to think like it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Ross.
Yeah, he's being made fun of,
and it's the same with Chandler as well. It's just like,
what's the big deal?
Who cares?
It is funny that like. Because we talked about this in relation to the fact that like I'm watching Spin City. I don't know if you've ever seen Spin City, but like it's a similar era show. It's Michael J. Fox. He's the deputy mayor of New York. It's a big cast, but a lot of the ongoing arc of it, as much as a sitcom can have one, is they hired a guy to be a gay representation in the office, because the gay rights aren't getting represented in Manhattan legislation. So he's there to sort of be that voice, and the foil against him is this guy who's just like, they are basically best friends, but he gets to make every sort of kind of like, Carter, when I look at you, I don't just see a giant fruit, I see my friend. You know what I mean? Like it's, or it's because he's hanging out with Carter, people think he's gay, so the women he's spent all this time hitting on suddenly think he's less of a threat because he's gay. So he starts hanging out with these women, and then it's going, oh, I'm so confused, and letting them straighten him out. And the
dated
different time.
The heart of this show is put gay characters on screen, give them representation, and point out that they're just people and there's no difference and they're lovely normal people and just be fine with it.
I watched Romy and Michelle's high school reunion recently. It was so good. It was for the first time. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but go see it if you haven't. Just wanted to put that out there in the podcast just before we leave or anything.
What's that? What did you say? You watched what?
Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. Mira Sorvino and Lisa Kudrow.
Oh yes, that's a movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Oh, you're on a bit of a Friends,
very, very
Friends
funny
buzz.
I guess so.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing to check out is Matt LeBlanc's Lost in Space.
I think I've seen that actually. I think I prefer Netflix's version.
No, you're going to watch Joey, the spin-off.
Is episodes anything to do with?
No, but episodes is great.
No,
if you haven't seen episodes,
good.
go watch episodes.
Okay. Yeah.
Add it to that extensive list that is.
Don't watch Joey.
I know. I'm filling up my page right now.
Episodes is great. Tamsin Greig, Stephen Mangan, Matt LeBlanc, and a bunch of other people. It's fantastic.
Tamsin from Black Books, is it? Yeah, love her.
Tamsin Greig and Stephen Mangan have written a British sitcom set in a boarding school with a posh old principal or schoolmaster who, takes all these boys and melds them into fine young upstanding gentlemen, and they want to remake the series in the US, and it becomes about a hockey team, and Matt LeBlanc gets cast as the posh old school principal and gets called Pucks instead of like St. Albans School for Wayward Boys or what, you know what I mean? They Americanize the fuck out of it, and these two writers just have to deal with America. And I think it was shot in Wales or something. Like I think I found out afterwards that they shot most of it in the UK, and I'm like, oh god. Hollywood is lies.
It is. Indeed it is. Hollywood. That's what we should call it. That is a stretch.
There's your ending. Just anybody have any good news? I will say though, this is at the end of the podcast. I did read Murder Falcon by Daniel Warren Johnson, and it's a really, really, really great comic book, and it's available on Comixology if you can't access comic book shops and all that kind of stuff. I do have the physical version of it, but it's a great book featuring big old kind of kaiju type monsters attacking Earth when a fella gets confronted by basically I don't know what you want to call it, like basically he is contacted by a being from another plane of existence called the Heavy, where they find out that metal music is the only way to defeat these monsters. And there's these instruments all across the world connected to the Heavy, which once someone plays them, or this chosen person plays them, they can command a creature or monster or whatever that will fight these kaijus. So this guy plays his metal guitar really, really well. The better he plays it and the more metal he is, Murder Falcon fights better. And Murder Falcon is this big, huge kind of like anthropomorphic falcon guy with a big, massive metal arm. And when he plays metal, the falcon fights the kaijus better. It is a bizarre concept, but it has some of the most heart I've ever read in a book in years. Really? It is beautiful. It is a great book. The art is fantastic. I think Mike Spicer does the color for it. And honestly, as a it's just I think it's like 6 issues or something, but you can get the collected version of it as a comic book. If anybody's a comic book fan or wants to read a comic book, pick that book up. I'm not going to say any more about it. It is so worth it. I loved it. It's brilliant. I'm also a huge fanboy of Daniel Warren Johnson, so might be biased.
That sounds really cool.
Yes.
Good recommendation.
I'm also reading Matt Fraction's Sex Criminals, which is about a couple who discover when they climax, they freeze time and they start robbing banks.
Not sure how to respond to that one, but the last one sounded cool though.